You are looking at beautiful Niagara Falls, estimated to be over 12,000 years old. I'm Kenny Burgamy. The falls, one of the many stops on this special road edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. And it all starts right now.
This is the Georgia Farm Monitor. Since 1966, your source for state and national agribusiness news, and features for farmers and consumers about Georgia's #1 industry, agriculture. The Georgia Farm Monitor is produced by the state's largest general farm organization, the Georgia Farm Bureau. Now, here are your hosts, Ray DeLessio and Kenny Burgamy.
Yes, one of the many natural wonders of the world. You are looking at the American side of the beautiful Niagara Falls, first discovered by the French in 1678. Hello again, everybody. I'm Kenny Burgamy with this special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. Today's show focusing on New York's unique brand of agriculture. Now, why New York, you ask? Well, one important reason behind our visit to the Empire State is the fact that the very first County Farm Bureau office was in southern New York, specifically in Broome County. We'll show you the spot and get the background. Also, American Farm Bureau President Zippy Duvall and New York Farm Bureau President Dean Norton talked to us about the importance of making Farm Bureau stronger for generations to come. And wine lovers, you're going to want to stick around for this one. New York wine production ranks third in grape production behind volume of California and Washington State. All this and more coming up on today's special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. We begin our road trip in the small village of Whitney Point, New York, in northern Broome County, population just under 1,000 residents. It's there we found the beautiful Whitaker family farm. They have a great American story to share. Whitney Point, the community you'll find in the rolling hills of New York State, not too far from the banks of two rivers. You'll find the Whitaker farms. Louis Whitaker first established the dairy farm in 1915. It has grown from 20 cows to more than 600, now covers 1,400 acres.
My grandfather started the farm in 1915, and obviously I'm third generation, and my son would be the fourth generation, and he has two sons. Hopefully they can be the fifth generation. We're in the rolling hills of Broome County, New York, and there's very little flat land, and we grow a lot of grass hay, and it's beautiful scenery, and I just enjoy being out on the land.
One of the fun facts about the Whitaker farms is recently they were honored for a century of operation by the New York State Agricultural Society Forum. And a crowning achievement of the family operation has been the reconstruction of this historic dairy barn.
The barn we were in was built in the late 1800s, and it was about a quarter mile down the road from the home farm. We bought it back in the 70s, my uncle did, and I've always enjoyed the barn. It's very unique structurally, and it was very close to the highway, and it was the foundation was falling down, so we decided to move it, and I was just very happy to be able to put it back up and just make it, last hopefully for years to come.
Scott's wife Judy is fully invested in the farm and Farm Bureau.
It's not your grandfather's farm anymore. You have to have so many different hats. You have to have a political hat. You have to have a nutritionist hat. You have to have a crop hat. Where before, they'd go out and they'd plant the corn, they knew how much they needed to do. Now with the regulations behind some of that, it has made me, anyway, have to get more involved in that political process to protect what we want to do and what we think the future is going to want to do here on our farm, so there will be something for our grandchildren in the years to come. If you sit back and say, well, somebody else will take care of that, you have to be there. You have to be on the forefront of having a seat at that table and being able to have your voice heard. If you're not out there telling your story, there is no future. You have to be the one with the voice telling these people this.
Scott told us he's a regular watcher of the Georgia Farm Monitor.
Watch RFD quite a bit and the Georgia Farm Monitor, and I'm actually kind of jealous that New York can't do something like that, but I understand it takes a lot of funding to do it, and it's a great program.
Really excited, and my husband was extremely excited because he watches the Georgia Farm Monitor on RFD, And I told him what they were coming, and his face just lit up, and he was very excited about that. So you made his day.
When anyone documents agriculture in the United States, the story isn't complete without a look at the modern Farm Bureau and the work of the county agricultural agent that have their origins in Broome County, New York. For you history buffs, here's a brief lesson in how it all began. The rock you see marks the spot for the first county Farm Bureau location in the United States. Fred Perrin, on staff with the New York Farm Bureau office in Albany, New York, has done a great deal of study about the early days of agriculture in Broome County. He told us this is a significant location not only for New York agriculture, but also for farmers and producers across the country.
So the first Farm Bureau was started here in 1911 with Mr. Quinn being the first president. Things weren't going terribly well in the Binghamton area. The Chamber of Commerce was concerned because their merchants were not doing a lot of business. The railroad was very concerned because freight coming in and going out was down. Productivity in the farms was really not doing very well, and they had heard about a situation in a southern state where basically somebody had been hired to improve productivity. So they basically talked about that with USDA and Cornell, the College of Agriculture, and the difference was that the Chamber said, let's go ahead and have an organization for a Bureau for Farmers. So the name of Farm Bureau came about, and what's really significant there is that made this different than anywhere else was this was going to be an organization controlled by farmers, for farmers. So the first County Farm Bureau president, James Quinn, did operate the farm here in 1911 and started the story that we now know is growing.
Dean Norton is the president of the New York Farm Bureau. He said what James Quinn started as the first Farm Bureau president in his home set a good example for those following in the Farm Bureau organization.
It's been an honor since I've been president to understand and know that, here in Broome County, New York, we started the first Farm Bureau chapter, which was the start of a phenomenon, not just, here in the United States and in New York, but if you think internationally, when people hear Farm Bureau, they know that there's substance behind that name. They know there's integrity behind that name. And they know that, when they're talking to President Duval or they're talking to President Norton, that there's a whole group of farm members behind them, standing behind them with a set of issues that is important to them, and you can take it to the bank.
Dave Johnson is president of the Farm Bureau in Broome County. He said it is a sense of pride for the community that Farm Bureau's organization started here.
100 years ago, agriculture, a lot more people were involved in agriculture. We're kind of on a major thoroughfare here. It's called Route 12, so people would have to drive past here to get to their market from their farms out in the area. It's significant because the people who own this land, the Quinn family, were very active in forming a Farm Bureau. So to have this rock right here to commemorate that is just a great feeling of pride for us, because we see it every day when we drive by that we actually had somewhat of a national significance to help agriculture across the country. So we take a lot of pride in the rock.
A story about the idea of how Farm Bureau was started would not be complete without a look into the future. The current president of the American Farm Bureau, Zippy Duval, said Farm Bureau carries on from those early origins and promises to be even stronger in the future.
Well, they started a bureau because there was so many challenges ahead of them that they needed to deal with, and they decided the way to deal with them was to work together. Those challenges exist today. As long as we're in business, and that will be forever, there are always going to be new challenges that we're going to have to approach. And the only way to take on those challenges and win those battles is to work together. So we got to continue to strengthen the partnerships. We got to continue to educate the general public. We got to continue to educate our public officials to let them know what we contribute to these rural communities across this country, because we are the backbone of the economy of rural America. And people take it for granted because food is so accessible to them. And we got to continue to remind them each day why we do what we do and how important we are to those communities.
Now there's much more to come from our special road trip to New York State. When we come back, one New York producer in the Finger Lakes region shares his love for maple syrup production. Stay tuned. And And we welcome you back to this special On the Road edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. A beautiful shot of Seneca Lake in Geneva, New York, commonly referred to as the lake trout capital of the world. Also with a maximum depth of 618 feet. It's the deepest lake in all of New York. With that in mind, while on this incredible road trip, the Georgia Farm Monitor crew made our way through the Finger Lakes region. The region named because of a group of 11 long and narrow lakes in central New York. It is here we discovered one couple's love for wine and their deep appreciation for the Farm Bureau organization. New York's wine industry continues to grow rapidly. The New York grape juice, and wine industry generates more than $4.8 billion in economic benefits annually for New York State. And there are over 1,600 family vineyards and over 400 wineries. The grape and wine industry is a collection of small family businesses. We had the chance to visit with the folks at Anthony Road Wine Company on the west side of Seneca Lake.
The reason we call it Anthony Road is we live on Anthony Road. And when we sat down with friends to try to come up with a name for the place, they all sound like a housing development or a shopping mall. So people started saying, how are things going down on Anthony Road? And we go, that works, we'll call it Anthony Road.
John's partner in making all this happen is his wife, Ann.
We go to Washington with Grape Growers of America, with our grape growers, New York State grape growers, and Farm Bureau, and we meet with our legislators, and they're just a wonderful arm of the agricultural aspect of New York that help us to get some of our legislation through, and they're always concerned about what's happening in this industry since it's grown so much over the past 40 years since we've been here. It's just a huge expanse of vineyards and wineries.
Basically, Farm Bureau has been an important organization for us for a number of reasons. When New York, especially, and I'm going to talk about New York Farm Bureau primarily, when all these changes started to happen as the industry was growing, we saw that there were laws that were counterintuitive, to tell you the truth. We went with Farm Bureau to Farm Bureau and said, help us change these laws. And they had access, they were great. You know, the whole organization got behind us. So one by one, we started chipping at different rules, regulations, and laws that allowed us more latitude in shipping, in running our businesses, and in developing different grapes and different wines.
John and Ann took us for a tour of their production facility on the beautiful Seneca Lake. The process only includes grapes grown in the Finger Lakes region.
Well, these are all glacier-formed lakes, and so the soils are all quite rich, and there's some sand banks going through different vineyards because of the lake shores over the hundreds and hundreds of years have changed, and so they're good soils. There's wonderful air drainage down to Seneca Lake, which is over 600 feet deep. This is our rosé of Cabernet Franc, and about 5 or 6 years ago, Wine Spectator had a big article about how rosés are coming back into people's favor, and for a long time people thought rosés, they see the color and they think a blush wine, sweet, you know, like white Zinfandel, and so years ago in the 1800s, rosés were very popular in Europe and France in particular, and they were always quite dry, and so with that in mind, people started doing a lot more rosés, and so, you know, word of mouth.
And we have a survey done about every 3 years. What's the value of the industry to the state of New York? It's currently just under $5 billion, $4.8 billion. You don't have to hit a politician over the head with $5 billion too many times. They don't want to stand up and say, I can help. And so good. But, you know, 20 years ago when we were starting with Farm Bureau to cruise the halls and say, you know, this is important, this is important. Now they get it. But if it weren't for some of those changes, we wouldn't be here the way we are.
Well, if you missed any part of the stories on today's special New York Road edition, you can still see them in their entirety at our YouTube channel. That's the Georgia Farm Monitor. Feel free to browse all the stories on there, but give yourself plenty of time. The archives date back all the way to 2009. And once you're done watching all those great stories, keep clicking and like the Georgia Farm Monitor Facebook pages that we've set up for you. If you have a story idea or if you just want to leave us a comment or suggestion, feel free to send us a message either on Facebook or the address listed below. That is news@farm-monitor.com. Now, a visit to New York State would not be complete without a stop at a farm that provides maple syrup. The state's unique climate and forestry make it a perfect location for maple syrup production. In the community of Phelps, we stopped at Day Brothers Dairy and Maple Farm to get an idea of what it takes to produce maple syrup. Just north of Geneva on County Road 6 is where you find Richard Day and Day Brothers Farms, first purchased by Richard's great-grandfather in 1889. Most of the maple syrup activity happens in late winter and early spring. That's when members of the New York State Maple Producers Association invite visitors into their sugar houses to experience the world of pure maple syrup.
Normally it was about the third week in February we tap, but I guess this year a lot of guys tapped in January and it's moving up. Whether it's the weather or what there is to it. But takes about, well, we used to have 3,000, now we're down to 2,000.
New York State is home to the largest resource of tappable maple trees in the United States and over 2,000 maple sugar makers.
The maple tree creates a sap that's unique. It has a sugar in it that, when concentrated, has the taste we all recognize as maple. So here in the Northeast, and that's 14 states in the Northeast as well as several Canadian provinces, in February and March of every year we tap our trees and let the sap run out and gather it, and then we take that back to the sugar house, sap house, concentrate it, and it becomes that wonderful maple syrup that we're all familiar with, or granulated maple sugar, or we turn it here in New York into, I think the last count I have is something like 45 different value-added products that we use to make maple products.
Mr. Day said he is supportive of the state's maple industry and committed, although he's considered quitting a number of times.
Been doing the same thing, I guess, probably how many years, and haven't changed any. My great-grandfather bought the farm in 1889, and we're on the, fifth generation now, Rod? Yeah. And I'm too dumb to retire.
The crop last year in New York was somewhere in the neighborhood of 615,000 gallons of syrup, officially as far as NAS is concerned. I'm expecting it to be the same or even a little bit more this year. And those numbers indicate a big increase. It's coming back into popularity in New York amongst small landowners.
Day has more than just maple production to keep up with. He's also involved in some other areas of agriculture, like growing hay, soybeans, and corn for his dairy farm. He said he enjoys all areas of the industry, but it's with the maple trees in the woods he loves best.
Spend the day out here, and this is where it's at out here. Walking the lines and no salesman to bother you.
All right, time for our final break. When we come back, the president of New York Farm Bureau, Dean Norton, takes us on a tour of his family farm operation in Elba, New York. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Georgia Farm Monitor, a special on-the-road edition of the show. Now today we're exploring all the great agriculture the state of New York has to offer. As mentioned before, New York, the birthplace of the American Farm Bureau. This is one of our many stops on our recent trip, Beak and Skiff Apple Orchards in Lafayette, New York. Family owned and operated since 1911. In 2013, they planted 15,000 new trees and renovated the Apple Hill campus to provide customers an even better apple picking experience. And finally today, our crew had the pleasure to spend time on the family farm of New York's Farm Bureau President Dean Norton. President Norton played tour guide and hosted us at his family home near the community of Elba.
It was started by my great-grandfather, and my grandfather knew at the age of 18 what he wanted to do his whole life. And he really is, when I talk to young farmers, he's the person I talk about. He was a young farmer that took over a farm that was 139 acres, milking maybe 10 cows, and by the time he retired, he had it up to 500 acres. We were milking 150 cows, and when he passed away, we were here with over 1,000 acres, milking 900 cows. So he is what I tell young farmers that they can be. If you know it's what you want to do, the world is your oyster, you know, you can do it.
Dean Norton first elected NYFB president in December 2008. Now, as you can imagine, his service and involvement in the Farm Bureau organization started long before that.
So all of a sudden, I'm on the County Farm Bureau board, and then 2 years later, I became the president. I served 4 years as the county president, and I felt at that time, 4 years is a long time as a county leader. I had a good board, people that had ideas that they expressed it's time for me to move on.
Here on the family farm outside the community of Elba, Norton told us that his commitment to family is a basic starting point that guides his decisions with the state's largest general farm organization.
I couldn't do what I do as the president of the New York Farm Bureau if it wasn't for the family that I have, if it wasn't for the upbringing that I had.
The president of the Farm Bureau in New York keeps a pretty busy schedule between bureau work, working as a senior ag consultant at a CPA firm, and helping with the family dairy farm. He and his wife Melanie also operate DMCK Cattle Company. They spend a great deal of the time with dairy cows and selling beef cattle.
And we have some dairy cows that we lease back to the farm here, just a way to diversify our income stream. We also have some land that we rent to other folks. So really, I'm part of this here, but as with any farmer, most of us are independent, so there was a little bit of independence of forming my own operation too.
We caught up with the American Farm Bureau president, Zippy Duvall, who recently took a tour of Dean Norton's family dairy farm.
In agriculture, it's so much agriculture in New York, and when we in other parts of the country think about New York, we think about New York City, and it's kind of like thinking about Atlanta being Georgia, and it's not. This is an absolutely gorgeous state with very dedicated farmers and ranchers across the state, and they do such a great job of raising and take such pride in what they do, whether it be cattle or whether it be growing grapes for wine or whatever it might be.
Every day is a great day. People ask me all the time, do you love your job? I love my job. Does that mean there's not bad days? Absolutely there are. But I wouldn't give up what I do for anything. To be able to represent the families and the communities that made this country, that are the backbone of this country, it's an honor and it's a privilege. It's a responsibility, and one that I cherish immensely.
Well, that'll do it for this week's special edition of the Georgia Farm Monitor. Now, before we go, we do want to thank all the fine folks in New York for making this show possible. A special thank you to the New York Farm Bureau and their entire staff. New York Farm Bureau President Dean Norton, Fred Perrin, Director of Member Relations and Field Services, plus American Farm Bureau President Mr. Zippy Duvall. As always, for all the latest ag info regarding food, great recipes, and what's happening down on the farm, check out our Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest pages. You'll stay informed and see what's up in the world of farming and the Farm Monitor Show. Now take care, everybody. We'll see you next week right here on the Georgia Farm Monitor. We'll leave you with some of the great sights from a memorable trip to beautiful New York State.